You know those days. The sun's high in the sky, the river backdrop gorgeous, and all you can see is clear water and trout carelessly feeding on big dry flies. It's the feeling I get at the peak of summer on my favorite cutthroat trout river. You know the day will be a workout, but you also know you won't want the day to end. Carefree, sunny, summer days were invented with cutthroat trout fishing in mind. But here we were in New Zealand, the place brown trout supposedly spook at loud whispers.
Okay, here he comes. Here he comes.
This is the South Island of New Zealand, and the Southern Alps run the entire length of the island. That's New Zealand's backcountry. When fishing these waters, you have to walk a distance to find fish, spotting 5 or 10 per kilometer on a great day. If you time things well, the fishing will be eerily similar to cutthroat trout. The Southern Alps dictate how life goes for everything in New Zealand. A small island in the middle of the Tasman sees weather fronts carrying in excess of 600 millimeters of rain in a day. Whatever's loose is swept away, which is why it's mostly rock and heavily rooted vegetation in the west coast rainforest. When rivers rise and fall 5, 10, or 15 vertical feet in half a day, you always have to be mindful of the forecast. It's that persistent threat of such weather that can come every 2 or 3 days for weeks on end that puts psychological pressure on fly fishers. It's that perpetual risk of heavy rain that makes sunny days in New Zealand so special. It's also why those big browns get so cutthroat-like, voracious to feed when the getting's good. But still, walking through the rainforest the first few times, it's hard to connect rainforests to the thought of good trout fishing. It sounds dumb in hindsight, but on this day after hiking a couple of hours, we emerged from the dripping humidity to find a stunning set of runs and pools with rising fish. Amelia had a go and landed a nice brown of about 4 pounds. We could have spent the day here, but we were on a mission to get above the gorge. Other than to see new country and explore, like any good cutthroat trout river, there's no need to hoof it past 40 browns in the 3 to 5 pound range, especially not when you're likely to catch them all, as you might on these sunny days. But that's exactly what we did. We put the rods away and tramped onwards to the top end of the drainage. It was great to see this blue duck. Like the harlequin duck on our cutthroat trout rivers, blue duck populations and ranges have been pushed back to remote, seldom fished waters. They're a shy bird and simply don't put up with nesting disturbances. If you've never been to a beech forest at the peak of summer, you've not likely had to shout just to hear each other. Like golden stones to a cutthroat trout, cicadas are a New Zealand brown trout's best friend, and they're in full force this day. As we emerged from the bush, the air electric with cicadas, we came upon a long glide full of fish. We caught 4 and 4 casts with flies the size of your pinky, then sat on a high bank for lunch. I had a sandwich in one hand and the camera in the other as we watched fish cruise immediately below.
Oh.
After Amelia popped the fly, I picked up the rod and crossed the river and had a go. I hooked up the first cast, popped it and landed the second fish. This day was shaping up as one of those full of endless gimmies. Would I enjoy the day more or less if I was on the camera or the fly rod? The results would be the same no matter what I did. It was her day, so I put my rod away.
On the water. That'll do it. Here he comes.
If you've ever seen a big cutthroat trout take a golden stone, you know they'll come a long ways to feed. Imagine how keyed up and far a big brown will come to feed on a bug the size of your thumb.
He's coming. He's coming. Good. I got him. Go for it. Right to him. On the water, yeah. That'll do it. Yeah, good.
There was one subtle difference to a cutthroat trout river. A run like this would entertain you for an hour or two back home on cutthroat trout. But with no escape cover and only a subtle trough, we only picked up one 4-pound brown and sighted nothing else. When the sighting was this obvious, if you're not seeing a fish from a raised bank, it's just not there. A pool like this one would also entertain you for an hour on a cutthroat river, but we didn't sight any trout. Sure, we could have hung out for a spell waiting to sight a fish, but the water upstream was too obvious, good looking, and time wasn't on our side. The entire day we hooked every fish spotted. It wasn't until the very last sighted fish we had any issue. Why this fish didn't want to dance, who knows? You run into a smart cutthroat once in a while, don't you? Why didn't we tie a dropper on and catch it, or change dries instead of just admiring it as it swam around? There again, what was the point in doing so by that point in the day?
He's coming.
No.
Looking and totally refusing. Little shit.
Oh, you shouldn't have twitched it out.
By the end of the day, we both commented how much it was like those carefree summer days fishing for cuts back home. We were soaked from sweat, tired, hungry, totally sated for fish, and facing one hell of a long walk back to the truck. Amelia had landed over 3 dozen fish in just over 4 hours of fishing. By the end of the day, we'd hiked nearly 33 kilometers of track and river, and we were dizzy, feet barely able to muster another step. And to watch my wife have another day like that, I'd gladly walk another 33 kilometers.